Joining us, Punchbowl News co-founder and MS Now political contributor Jake Sherman, staff writer at The Atlantic, and MS Now political analyst Ashley Parker, former Republican congressman from Pennsylvania Charlie Dent, and here with me, Democratic strategist and MS Now political analyst Basil Smikle. All right, Jake, I didn't have a lot to say today because, I mean, there's really not a lot to say about what they're doing in Congress because they're not doing anything.
Katie, we can't just keep saying that they can't be expected to do anything because they have a small majority. It's an argument I'm not terribly interested in. There have been small majorities before. Like, this is not the first time that the House, maybe it could be the smallest, it's almost the smallest, whatever. Nancy Pelosi had like a 3-vote margin. I can't remember exactly what it was between 2019 and 2020, 2019 and 2023. She had very small majorities, and she still got big things done. So I don't really understand that argument. The bigger problem for Johnson is that this Republican leadership team, Johnson and President Trump, have not been honest, in my view, about what's doable right now under the governing construct that they have. The Save America Act, this voter ID citizenship test, maybe it's the greatest thing on earth. Whatever your view of it is, they don't have the votes to pass it, and they need to come to grips with that. Like, I would love to be 6'5" and a point guard on the Knicks. I am not that. I have come to grips with it reluctantly. I have come to grips with being 5'7" on a good day and a congressional reporter. That's just life. So the quicker you could become comfortable with the fact that you don't have the votes, the easier it will be.
God, you made me think of one of the all-time greatest songs. I wish I was a little bit taller.
Yeah,
I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl. If I did, I would call her. I could keep going, but I won't. All right, Ashley, I mean, part of this is Congress not being able to work independently of the president. And yeah, I mean, they're all in the same party, and obviously they all want to work toward the same goals. But Congress usually does have some independence, some agency in any administration, any government. Not this one. And the president is the one that is forcing this thing that does not have the votes. Why does the president not want to try to get something done ahead of a midterm election? I mean, he has the housing bill on his desk. As I understand it, it's 3 o'clock on Wednesday, July 1st. He's had it for 2 days now. Still has not signed it.
Yeah, I mean, this shows you where his head is. The housing bill, basically making American homes more affordable. I might be bungling the exact name, but that is a perfect messaging bill that has broad bipartisan support that would help Republicans in the midterms, and they desperately need help. But Donald Trump fundamentally does not view himself as the leader of the Republican Party. He doesn't particularly care what happens to a lot of these Republicans. You've seen him meddle in primaries in ways that will make it harder for them to keep some Senate seats that should be easy wins, like in Texas. They'll keep it probably almost certainly, but they're going to have to pour a lot more money in. And so that's not his concern. He is motivated by himself, by his interests, and he cares about these election bills because, as he tells it, any election he has won is free and fair, and any election he has lost is rigged and problematic. So that's where his head is, and he said as much publicly. He's basically said, I care a lot more about this than I care about the housing bill. I care a lot more about the war in Iran than I care about inflation. Those things may be true. Those are not good things for him to articulate aloud for his party.
Charlie, why should anybody vote for Republicans in Congress in this midterm? What are they getting out of Republicans in Congress?
Well, the real challenge for Republicans right now is that they really don't have a functional majority. And the problem really is at the White House. The president of the United States cannot accept the reality of the fact that the votes aren't there for the Save America Act. Can't pass the Senate. And even if it did pass the Senate, they couldn't implement this law before the election. And this has been an ongoing problem for House Republicans where they simply don't have, they can't pass a rule. I've lost track of how many rule votes have failed in this Congress. This should never, ever happen. That means you cannot advance your own agenda. And this is the problem Republicans are facing in this midterm. You know, what do they have to show right now to the voters? I mean, the one big beautiful bill just isn't going to cut it. And you have a president who is obsessed with vanity projects that most Americans disapprove of and frankly think are completely detached from the economic realities that they face every single day. So if you're a Republican right now, you just kind of grasping at straws to figure out what you want to talk about between now and the election. I don't think the transgender will be the issue.
Charlie, but again, why vote for the Republicans to maintain control? What are people getting out of it?
Well, I mean, that's their challenge, right? Look, Republicans are going to say they gave you a big tax cut. They're going to say they gave you a big tax cut,
which was negated by the tariffs and the Iran war and all the gas prices.
Totally understand that. Totally understand that. And that's why I think Republicans are flailing right now, because they don't have a really coherent message to take into the midterm. They know it. They know on the wrong side of a lot of issues, and that's why you're starting to see Republicans hoping that they can make an issue of these Democratic socialists or of the transgender in women's sports, all sorts of issues that really probably just aren't going to be able to resonate. So they don't have much they can sell right now. They know it, and that's why they're flailing, particularly in the House.
So why vote for Democrats then? I mean, if Democrats can take over the House or the Senate or both, they still have Donald Trump in charge, and they're not going to have a supermajority. It doesn't look like it, at least.
Well, you vote for a Democrat because, and I'm going to go to the glasses, this is a Texas member of Congress, Congressman Nels, if I got that name right.
Troy Nels. We have that
Troy
sound.
Nels.
Why don't we just play it? I know what you're going to talk about. Let's play the sound.
How do House Republicans make the case that you're fighting for affordability when you go back to your districts?
Affordability? What are you talking about?
Affordability is the big...
I'm going to go there tomorrow. Over the 4th. I'm going to get me a couple big lobster tails. I'm going to get me some nice ribeyes. I'm going to sit in my backyard with my family, my neighbors. Prices got to come down. Don't take advantage of the American people. To me, it's almost criminal.
You think 60% of Americans...
So we got to do that. We have to do that. And I think that the overall goal and objective is to make sure Iran never has a nuclear weapon. So I'm okay with the increase in fuel because you knew it was going to happen with oil and the Strait and everything. But it's a temporary issue.
You think the 60% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck can afford lobster tails and ribeyes and all of that?
Maybe not. Maybe the 60% of America don't work as hard as I do.
I mean,
That's why you vote for Democrats.
do you think he's just trolling the reporter there?
No, I think he honestly believes that. I don't care who you are. If you're a member of Congress and you have people that you have to go back and talk to, do you say that?
He's retiring.
Yeah, well, God bless him. You know what? And I'll say this. You know, I have a neighbor that will say this when she's secretly laughing at you, but wants to encourage you. She'll say, "Bless your heart." And when I look at the Speaker of the House, when I look at members of Congress like that, my thing is, "Bless your heart." You know, I don't support you, but you are trying really hard to send a message. And when I look at the Speaker, he's trying really hard to send a message that he's in charge. He is not in charge. Donald Trump is doing something in the second term that he didn't do in the first, which is have direct control over legislation, direct control over processes. And that is tying up Republicans. They're fighting with each other over process instead of with Democrats. And that gives Democrats the opening to say, we can create a world that voters want to live in. Now, not everybody's going to be great at that messaging. I heard you talk to Rick earlier in the show.
Yeah.
Not every Democrat is going to be great at that. Not every DSA member is going to win in every district. But you got to do that because in the meantime, what Republicans are doing is having conversations like that Americans aren't working on.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the Democratic Party a little bit later in the hour.